Previously, in chapter 6a of the epically boring bar holder remake video, I installed a new set screw and hacked off a piece of scraptonium for some boring bar action. And now in part B of chapter 6, I finally do some testing. Good morning. So it's a few days later and I moved my whole setup into the room next door because it's a wet and windy day. And it's not, well, it's rather drafty inside the barn. Well, let's quickly phase off this piece that I hacked off, and then I'm going to punch a hole through here. Let's quickly do a tool change. And if I'm not mistaken, this tool bit needs one shim. I should get a bigger tool bit and then try to machine it to size so I don't need to use any shims anymore. Then it would be a quick change tool. So before I start this first machining job of the year, I should really lube up the bearings. It's been a while since these had some fresh oil. Alright. Next we get to find out if the frequency drive has survived the winter. Although technically the winter isn't over yet. Well, it is coming to life. It works. A little bit of this shock absorber oil. Alright, let's do this. First lathe job of 2021. Well below center height. Let's add a shim. Let's add 2 shims. These shims were stored together, so I assume this stack will bring the tool bit to the right height. That's my spinner. No need to make it any prettier than this. I'll stone off that last nipple so it will not push the center drill to one side. Good. Let's switch tools. Tang is a little bit long. And now I need a center drill. That goddamn microphone is in my way. I'm almost making contact with that fluffy rat. done. Next, a pilot drill. Here's a 3mm drill bit. And let's punch a hole through this piece of scraptonium. And we got a breakthrough. If I remember correctly, I should now switch to a 9mm drill bit. And the maximum for this drill chuck is 10mm. And this is a Banggood cobalt drill bit. They're actually pretty good. They're the best I have. Let's make a hole. And we're through. And the lathe was running about 500-600 RPM. Do not know exactly how fast. I don't really care, it worked. Let's quickly put this drill bit back into the box and then I will set up the boring bar. So the boring bar is not fitting inside the hole, and that's just what I wanted. If I make the hole too big, at some point I will be boring inside the throat of the chuck. Let's remove this tool bit and then I can set up the boring bar holder, my quick change boring bar holder. And now it's in the swerve bucket, or the swerve tray. I'm using this steel plate to line it up parallel with the tool post. And now we're ready to start boring. Maybe a little bit of oil. It makes me look professional. Here we go, start. Huh, that definitely was a major failure. I think the geometry of the tool bit changed too much because of the rotation, and that's why it was rubbing inside the hole. Well, I guess I need to try again. What else can I do? The tool has quite a bit of rotation. It looks like the tool bit is still above center height, so I can bring it down slightly, but probably the best course of action would be to install a custom shim underneath the holder here. That way it will still be a quick change boring bar, and I don't need to mess with using shims all the time. If you look at the insert from the front, you can really see that it is quite heavily rotated at the moment, and that explains why it was rubbing the inside of the board. So I hacked off a piece of tin, and now I'm going to use it to set the boring bar holder back to center height, and hopefully this will fix the problem. And if it does, I will permanently glue this to the tool holder, so I will never have to search for another shim for this boring bar holder. I'm going to loosen up all of the set screws. By the way, I did some basic editing on my old laptop, and the color, or the white balance, it came out rather yellow, probably because of the underlayment I stuck to the wall as an oil guard or a tool rack, not sure what to call it. It's probably too oily to paint it in another color, so I guess I will have to try and live with it. So I'm currently setting the white balance to 5000 Kelvin with a slight tint change to the blue and green, and hopefully this footage will come out better. It's stuck inside. Of course, I forgot about that new set screw. The whole reason for this video. Okay. Okay, I think that's slightly above center height, and I guess we should try again now. Well, I tweaked the center height setting a little bit more, and this is what I'm going with. I think the flat here is a lot more horizontal, so I'm hoping for the best, as always. And this is what it looks like from the front. And now it's time to set this up again. First the shim, and here's the boring bar. And I'm too close to the shock. Okay. Okay, I think I'm ready now. Let's switch on the lathe or the frequency drive. a little bit of oil, and here we go. Man, that tripod is in the way. So I'm ready to try again, and I just added this block to my setup because when I tighten up this nut too much, it kinda bends the whole tool post out of shape, and this slide becomes unmovable. Yeah, it is still really tight, but I should be able to give it a try. Let's dial in a bit more of a cut. Oh, there are chips. Looks promising. Hopefully it won't start rubbing against that little screw that holds down the insert. Oh, fuck. The whole shebang moved. But you probably saw that. So I thought there might be something wrong with the insert, so I brought in the Star inspection microscope. And it looks like I was right. Focus. Here you can see that part of the tip of the insert broke away. Well, I guess I will have to flip this thing. Well, I didn't bring the light stand, so I'm using the lights from the inspection microscope. You can hear the chickens next door. Or the wind howling through the barn. Well, let's try this again. Okay, I think I should be ready to try again. It is really hard to move the top slide, especially when you're changing direction. So that makes using a boring bar kind of difficult. I did put some loop on the dovetails, but that didn't help a whole lot. And if I loosen up the nut on the tool post, then the boring bar will be too loose and will get pushed to one side. I guess I will have to live with this. Here we go. Doesn't sound very good. And there it moved. Another failure. Great. Well, I thought I had this nut done up tight enough, but I guess not. Pun intended. Now this nut has been loosened up. It is a lot easier to move the top slide. I wouldn't call it easy, but it is doable. And yeah, these set screws are pretty loose. In fact, now they are completely loose. It only makes a very small difference. Well, it does make a difference. It just isn't as smooth as I would have liked it to be. Okay, I'm ready for the next go. And as far as I can tell, the insert is still in one piece. So let's try this again. Doesn't sound great, but there are chips. Yeah, we reached that ridge. Sounds terrible. I guess I will need to inspect the insert, see if it is still alive. So apparently the set screw that holds the insert is rubbing inside the bore. Yeah, I fell for that mistake before. I think it was last year, around the same time. But with a threading bar. I guess my powers of repeating mistakes are awesome. I guess I will try and grind off a little bit from that set screw and then try to open up that hole again. After spending a little time on the grinder, it now looks like this. And I hope you like the footage from the old macro lens. I had to manually focus this shot. So you better like it. Well, I think that after grinding the little set screw will not be in our way anymore. So I will line up the tool for another cut and then we are going to try again. But I will move the camera to the swerve bucket so it won't be in my way when I do my machining shit. So here you can see the ridge the tool was rubbing on before. Let's fire up the lathe and try again. I think that was okay. I don't know what's happening here. It's suddenly rather easy to turn the top slide. I'll check if I tightened up that nut. Yeah. Okay. Maybe there was a little bit of swerve that got stuck inside the dovetail, and well, that came free. I just set up a second camera to film the action from behind. It might be cool. I'm not sure if it is a cotton anything. Well, there are some chips coming out. Let's take another cut. Oh, there is some swerve. Some glorious swerve. It is cutting, man. It kind of sounds... Whoa! Something's hurting. Well, I'm stopping this recording because it's getting way too long, and I have to edit through all of that shit. So I had a look at the insert and the boring bar with the inspection microscope. Well, the insert here is basically toast. You can see that very easy with the naked eye. But the boring bar has also been rubbing the inside of the bore. You can see that over here. And that was after I did grind away that set screw. It is kind of surprising that a 8mm boring bar cannot open up a 9mm hole. Well, it was surprising to me. I kind of assumed that it would be no problem. Well, I'm going to take out the insert and then file off a little bit of this corner here to create a little bit more room for smaller holes. Good. The set screw is still coming out despite my grinding work. And now I will drop it on the floor. No, not today. Must be a good day. So this is another shot with the teleconverter function turned on. And to be honest, I'm okay with the result so far. Sure, there is a little bit more noise. Well, it basically changes your camera to a smaller size sensor one, and that has a positive effect on the depth of field. Sure, there is a bit more noise, but if you can keep the ISO low, the results are acceptable. Okay, next I'm going to prepare a thicker shim, and then we are going to try again. So I thought somebody might enjoy the result of my filing action, and I like to experiment with my macro lens a bit. So here's a brand new insert, and now comes the tricky part, installing that little screw without dropping it. Hopefully it will still engage the thread. Yep. Okay. That's tight enough. Alright, time to set this to center height and try again. So I hacked off another piece of tin, and this is a little bit thicker than what I was using before. And if this works out, then I will glue this permanently underneath the boring bar holder. Here's the boring bar. And now I need to clamp this down in such a way that I can still get access to the set screw, which is kind of hard to do. So I've been messing with the set screws for a while, and I think I got it well, pretty much on center height. The flat here is a lot more horizontal than it was before, although I do think that I might search for a thicker shim. And for your information, the camera has been set horizontal using the built-in level. I think that is similar to what you get in a smartphone. Well, let's flip this thing around and try again. Well, I'm done setting things up, but before I start testing, I'll quickly put a drop of oil into the bearings. And you know what? For the next shot I will move you back to the swerve tray, so the tripod will not be in my way. A little drop of oil. And now we can fire up the frequency drive. I think there was a bit left in the back. Well, sound isn't fun. So after removing that last bit in the back of the hole, now let's try and do a full pass. Okay, dialing in a cut, a very light cut. Here we go. Still sounds terrible. Wow. It became harder to turn the top slide. Okay. I bet that insert is hurting. I don't know. It's kind of hard to see if it is still all there. I think that cut became a lot heavier down the bar. So, light cuts. Well, we got some swerve. A bit more oil. Here we go again. Squeal, piggy, squeal! I think that will ruin the recording. The top slide is rather easy to turn today. Okay, I think we should have a look inside the board. I think that was as good as you can expect from an amateur like me. It's no mirror surface finish, but I think it's okay. So I brought my rolling metal patented surface checker. It sounds very acceptable. It also feels very acceptable. I bet it wouldn't catch my nails. Great result. Success. Victory after all. Finally. Next, for fun and to make this video a little bit longer, I'm going to also test this boring bar holder on the blue cargo lathe. Because one thing that I found out during this boring bar holder remake video, that both the blue and cargo lathe have the same height tool post. And I always thought that the blue cargo lathe was a little bit lower. And to keep this interesting for myself, I will do that scene or that act with voiceover. Before I move my whole setup next door into the barn, here's a look at the insert I just tested with. And it looks like it already has some damage, although it is hard to see, even with the macro lens. I'll throw in a shot with the end star microscope as well. And after that I will switch the insert just to be sure. After a quick look with the end star microscope, the insert is definitely damaged and should be replaced or turned over. Now let's move into the barn for the next act in this last chapter. Welcome back in the barn, and for this next voiceover act in the epically boring bar holder remake video, or chapter 6, I'm going to set the white balance using this wall here. Well, I had good results with that in the past, and we will see how this will turn out. I'm also going to film this in the evening, so there will be no light pollution or sunlight coming in through the windows. And of course I did bring in my light stand. Let's start filming. I've been procrastinating doing this voiceover recording, probably because I do not really like voiceovers. They are sterile, lack spontaneity and emotion, and make me sound like an automated answering machine. But they do serve a purpose, and lots of successful YouTubers seem to use them. Think the old Tony, for example. But yeah, I prefer unscripted, quote-unquote, live recorded action. As you can see, I put together a short montage using my old prime focus photography kit. I never used prime focus lenses for my videos, as I like to stay away from lens changes. But the result is very acceptable, and I like it. And that is probably more important than what anybody else thinks about it. Ironically, proportionally, lens changes take up not a whole lot of time from the overall production. I probably spent more time moving my light stand around and drinking tea. Eventually, I'll probably work it out into a short rolling metal video. I think the recordings are too good to be seen by only a handful of subscribers on this channel. It deserves millions of views, but that's probably what most YouTubers think. At least then you can see the production in its full 1080p resolution, without this annoying voiceover. FYI, I have decided that I will upload my longer videos in 720p from this point on. That will be easier to edit, and it saves a lot of time when uploading. You see, my internet is rather crap out here, and a half-hour video takes about half a day to upload. And no longer will I leave my computer running all night to upload one of my shit shows. Besides, most of you will probably watch on a self-imposed tracking device with a tiny screen anyway, so I don't expect anybody will notice it. For a while I did experiment with uploading videos encoded with the H.265 codec. It can use lower bit rates for the same image quality, but it's just too slow to encode on my computer. So I am forgetting about that idea for now, but maybe it's something for the future, when I have moved on to 4K and have a supercomputer and fiber optic internet. Who knows? Now I want to say something about the future of this channel. I like the random and low expectation, and for now I will keep it going as a practice channel and for small clips that I like to keep. So anyone who has actually subscribed and has reached this far into this video, you can expect more. And maybe one day I will come up with a great new idea for a new channel. And if and when I do, I will let you know. On a side note, I set up a rolling metal account on the Miivi website, just like Keith Fender did. Although I'm not really a fan of this whole social media thing. But I thought I should give it a try to see if I can get a bit of a social media footprint on the internet. It's probably important for the success of my YouTube channel. And because I hate Facebook and don't like Instagram, with their filters and square picture format, and I don't feel enough self-importance to start using Twitter. So I thought maybe I'll like this Miivi thing. But I'm not planning to spend a whole lot of time on it. But who knows, I might get hooked. So far I only managed to post a couple of pictures that no one will probably see. But you are invited to become my virtual friend on Miivi. I have no idea how you should do that. You will need to figure that out yourself. Back to the future of this channel. I plan to experiment a bit with music on my amateur machining videos. I don't expect I will like it very much, but you should try everything, as my grandfather always said. Perhaps then I will find a secret formula to success. Back to chapter 6 of the epically boring boring bar holder remake video. Well, the boring bar worked out fine on the blue cargo lathe, as you will find out later. But that's not what I wanted to talk about in this voiceover. I learned a lot during the 6 chapters it took me to remake this thing. There are lots of things that I should change in order to make better and more videos. I need more lights, better backup procedures, and streamline my workflow. But I won't go into details, that will be boring. The first priority for me will have to be to improve my health and perhaps lose some weight. Because I do not want to have another one of those little brain farts. I tried to do this last year, but then slowly things became harder and harder for me. Everything just got so freaking heavy, making me feel old and clumsy. At first I blamed that TIA that I had, then my meds, and later on that positive diagnosis for rheumatism markers from a few years ago. And the whole corona thing that's going on also didn't help. It's hard to believe that all this could have been prevented with a stupid vitamin pill. But yeah, I never took that stuff, as I thought it would only turn your pee yellow. Boy, was I wrong on that one, and I guess I will have to spend more time in the sun. But I never liked the sun very much. It makes me hot, red and sweaty, and sunbathing is probably the worst pastime I can think of. How useless is that? Anyway, it's been 5 or 6 weeks since I started recording this chapter, and that is about the same time that I have been taking my vitamin supplements, and so far they have done wonders, especially the first weeks. I'm getting stronger and have no more headaches, and my hand-eye coordination has improved. The inflammations in my right shoulder and foot have receded or almost gone away. And in time I should be able to make a lot more videos and perhaps pick up some of my old projects that I started. one project in particular that made me buy a lathe in the first place. One more thing, when I started these remake videos in the first chapter, I promised to respin the recordings in a short voiceover version and an even shorter no talking edit. But unfortunately that is no longer possible, as I lost all of the data of the first 5 chapters when I made a little mistake when I upgraded my computer during the winter. So this plan is never going to happen. But I did buy a small carbide boring bar that also needs a holder. Perhaps I will do another remake video once I have settled on my final working procedure, but probably not. Anyway, enjoy the rest of the shit show and look forward to a full HD version on my Rolling Metal channel. After all that yada yada yada, it's now finally time to start the boring part. You saw the bending and flexing there, and that's why I bought a small carbide version of a similar boring bar. There's no problem to bore out a 9mm drilled hole after the filing modification I did. I think the boring bar moved there. I probably did not clamp it down enough. Well, that was probably boring enough. So hardly any cheddar, and that's amazing. It's a small wonder. I was expecting lots of cheddar, but I guess it all worked out fine after a few modifications. Well, thanks for watching, and till next time, maybe. You never know. Yeah, that's typical rolling metal. Nothing wrong with that. A little drop of this CA glue. I'm not sure if it is any good on metal, but I got this open anyway to glue the microphone stand, so I better try it. Why not? If I'm not going to use it, it will surely dry up. And now the clamp. And tomorrow I'll file off these edges. Well, I didn't wait till the next day, but it should be dry by now. It has been a couple of hours. Oh yeah, feels good. I think this was the shim was part of a car body. That's why there is some paint on here. It doesn't matter. So I didn't bring the light stand for this shot. So the ISO is up and the recording will probably suck. Let's file this off. I'm turning on my desk light. Well, the other side will be more of the same, so I'm not going to film all that. Till the next time.